So, without further ado, I want to announce our first speaker, Elise Sass. She was co-founder and CEO of Lift99, and as well, she is entrepreneur, founder of Mastpool, and her focus is on pitch training and helping startups to present themselves better in front of investors and public. Elise, you have the floor. Thank you.
Hello. Hi. As already said, my name is Elise. I'm a co-founder of Lift99. We're building a founder-to-founder platform for today's and future founders to bring them the network and connections from offline world into the virtual world. So we know who you need before you actually figure that out. But today I'm going to tell you a little bit about the importance of startup pitch. Later you will hear more about how to actually get into the investment or negotiate term sheets. Before you get around the table, you need to figure out how to get the attention. And that is very important. I've been working in startups and with startups for more than 10 years, both being a founder, but also being, for example, a founding team member for an accelerator program already 7 years ago. I've also worked in the corporate world to make the corporate understand what startups are about, but also vice versa. Startups need corporates as well to build their businesses. But let's get into the proper thing. The aim of a startup pitch is to get around the table with the investors, possible partners, future colleagues. It's a very short opportunity for you to build interest, and that is the aim. A startup pitch is not about telling the audience, a listener, or a new person that you meet in a bar about everything that you do. But the initial thing is to get their attention. So they would ask further questions. They would come to you to learn more what you are doing. And also to be remembered. During, for example, this conference, there will be 20 different startups pitching. Imagine now that the jury who is listening to that, the startups need to find a way how they will be a little bit different from anybody else on the stage. And the difference can't only be the product that they're building, but also their personality, their passion, their uniqueness about making the audience believe that what they are doing and what their team is doing is the key and the most interesting thing at this conference. But it's also about growing the network. So even if the investors don't immediately come to you, they have extensive network behind them. They know other investors that they will later go and talk about you if you're able to explain yourself in a way that they understand. It's about sharing your vision, especially if you're building something new, something that is innovative, when you're connecting different target groups or technologies. And the people who are listening to you and able to understand what you're doing will continue to talk about you as well. And the listeners, they do talk, they remember during this conference, but also afterwards, when all these people from this conference go back home and share the information with their colleagues, their family members, their old schoolmates, and all the others. But what is important still in the pitch itself, how do you get the important information out? The expectation from the listener is very basic. Slide full of information. A quick hint. In a startup pitch, you should never use that slide. It's a lecture slide. But for you, it's a good information to show what should be there, where to start from. You always need to start with who you are, the introduction. And the introduction is best if it's connected with the product that you're building, a personal introduction. So it's a good flow to continue to talk about the problem. The easiest way for the audience to understand your product on the next stage is to first understand what is the problem. If you convince the audience that there is a problem, it is an important problem, it touches many people out there, then you have paved the way for yourself to talk about the solution and making sure that the audience trusts you in the industry that you claim to have information and knowledge about. And you continue with the solution. If you have an offline product, a physical thing, a service, a mobile application, it doesn't really matter. Walk the audience through how your solution helps the people who have the problem that you claim to have. And why will it work in the first place? An important element that sometimes is missed is competition. Competition is an excellent thing. The fact that there are other companies targeting the same problems is a very good thing. The information that they're already making money is even better. The information that some of them have failed is very useful to know. It doesn't only teach you a lot about the industry and how to prevent the mistakes yourself, it also gives the listener information, what was already done and how you're different in the first place. Always know about competition. Even if you don't talk about it during your pitch, you will definitely receive it during the questions, and you have to be able to answer that. Competition is not only other startups doing exactly the same thing as you are, but it's also other corporates in the same industry. Other startups in the same industry, maybe targeting the same customer group in a completely different way. And it's very important to divide your time knowingly. I tend to click the button in here. I think this is the reason why it's changing. Technology, opportunity, and business. Technology is something that, especially if you're a tech founder yourself, you want so much to talk about it. But you still have to do it in a way that everybody understands. Just concentrate on the uniqueness part, if it is relevant. If you're not building a new technology, if you're not connecting dots in technology that anybody else hasn't done before, then it's not a new thing. So touch it only when it's this kind of secret sauce of yours. And the business itself. It's very important to talk about the target group and also make the audience understand that there is business, there is an opportunity out there. If you're an early stage startup, then do not make up things. But still, if you convince the audience that there's a problem, your solution will work, you have validated that, you can pave the way to a proper business case as well. If you already are making money, then talk about it. If you have first paying customers, that is so relevant information for the audience to listen and understand. Because it gives them the understanding that, whoa, you didn't just convince me, but you do have clients as well who are paying for it. A team behind the startup, behind the idea, is important. Most investors invest in a team. You can be quite sure that they have seen tens, probably hundreds of other startups in the same industry that you are in. Why they should choose you? Is it the technology? It's probably the founding team. Why your team is the best one to build this app, to have the, maybe not skills yet, but to have the drive to make it happen. So that investors are happy to give you their money and hope that you will be their next unicorn. Divide your time knowingly. I gave an example of an elevator pitch in here. But the point of this dividing time is, if you have an elevator pitch, for example, 60 seconds, and you spend 30 seconds of it about talking yourself, you have lost valuable time to talk about the problem, the target group, the solution. So less than 1/6, 1/10 should be spent on yourself, and the rest should be actually spent on talking about the real thing. What are you doing? There are different formats for a startup pitch. The longer it is, the easiest it is to make. If any of you thinks about your best pickup line, girls, boys, it's so hard to come up with one line that would always work, right? It's much easier to come up with a longer talk. But one line is something that you have to have. You have different opportunities how to build up the one-liners. One-liner can be used just in the beginning of a meeting or in the beginning of an event when you start to present. There are several ways how to build that up. One of the very shortest, very simplest ways is to connect yourself with a service or a product that you know that everybody else knows as well. So if I would be a Facebook for truck drivers, everybody would have a visual input in their head thinking about social networks, you know, the guys driving trucks, and my social network connects them. Because you have the visual input in your head already. So whatever you're doing, often these things work as well. But you have to be completely sure that the audience that you're talking with knows what is Facebook, and they also know who are truck drivers. If I'm using the other example, the Airbnb for tennis courts, then for example, if I would be an event with participants over 60 plus, they know a lot less about Airbnb services. So in there, it might not work. You have to be sure that it works with the people around you. In a longer format for a one sentence should be already about what you really do and for who you're doing that, where you define your offer. And again, this one sentence is something that you can use when you're meeting somebody, when you're starting a meeting, when you start your talk on a stage as well. So kind of summarize what will be next. So if I would be a founder of a startup building greenhouses on top of the skyscrapers, I could use something like this. Hi Urban is building a rooftop commercial greenhouses to help food producers and distributors provide year-round local food with sustainable harvesting and low-cost methods. It is a very long sentence, and it doesn't work for me, to be honest. Because for me, some of the words in here are complicated. At the same time, it does have all the elements that are needed. It says, what is my company? It has the defined offering. We are offering greenhouses, and for who we are doing that? The food producers. And the secret sauce that you have at the end as well is about sustainable harvesting and low-cost methods. Remember, the aim of a startup pitch is to get the attention. So with saying these elements, the aim is that who is interested will start asking questions. Who is not yet interested would pick up some of the keywords from here, which is greenhouses and on top of buildings. And when they go back home and they have friends who are working in this industry, they would be able to say something, I saw a startup in Romania who is doing some kind of greenhouses on top of buildings. So the keywords are still there. An elevator pitch is much longer format. Imagine you are in Dubai, the tallest building in the world, Burj Khalifa. And do you know that it takes you just 60 seconds to go up there, the tallest building? It means that elevator pitch is actually from 30 to 60 seconds. Because probably when you end up in that elevator with Elon Musk or Richard Branson or some finance director, your first thought is like, oh my God, this is a great guy. I should now pitch. And you already lost 15 or 20 seconds. So it's important that you will get the attention. And again, to remind you, it's not about telling him everything. It's about getting attention and interest so that if the person steps out from the elevator, he would give you his business card and say that, let's meet up. So it's a short, interesting introduction that you have to make. What about event pitches? So here at this event as well, many startups have the opportunity to come on stage and pitch their startup for a much longer format. The goal is still the same, to get attention. And if you have time for additional questions, that's even better. But with an event pitch, what is important element is you probably have slide opportunity there as well. But the verbal part is still important. You know, the slides tend to not work so well, or what is very important as well is the listeners can either listen to you or read slides, especially when you have 3, 4, or 5 minutes. People can't multitask. They concentrate on one thing. So whenever you're doing slides in the background, make sure that they're very minimalistic. They're just supporting your story. And even if the slides don't show up, you're still delivering verbally 100% of your story. And if the slides are there supporting you, it's an extra help, maybe 20, 30%. Some event pitches also give you an opportunity to give a live demo. In that case, based on a lot of experience and seeing a lot of startups, make sure that you have 2 people on stage. One person is showing the live demo and another one is speaking. Because if the live demo, you know, the Murphy law, something will go wrong for sure, then the person who is not speaking can take care of it, and the speaker can still always continue. The longer format will definitely give you opportunity to give more emphasis on the things that the audience expects. For example, about the team, the business opportunity, which also contains competition, the target group, and convince the audience even more what is the secret sauce that you have, how you will be successful and faster than others. The stage presence. Whenever you're pitching, it's very important. Whether you're in a bar or on a stage, because the confidence is what is important, and people believe you when you're confident about your own talk. Doing usual gestures, emphasizing important elements. And also, with a short pitch, it's important to move knowingly on stage, because it's the same thing. People can either listen to you, read the slides, or watch while you're walking back and forth on the stage. And look at the audience. Have the connection with the audience. You can't be remembered or can't be interesting if you're talking with your feet. Another thing that is very important is why I spoke about different formats of the startup pitch. Every startup team member needs to be able to pitch. Every single. It's not just the CEO, the best speaker, who should go on stage every time and who has to know the one-liners. No, it has to be also the developer, the designer, the marketing person as well. The main thing is that the pitch is different for different team members. What is the same is the facts are the same, but the sentences are different. Some of the focus might be a little bit different from the developer side than the designer side. Because if you have your own pitch, you can believe in what you are saying. And the belief is the most important thing. Nobody else will believe you unless you are completely sure and confident on what you are saying and agree with the audience that this thing that I'm building is the next big thing from Romania. It gives you also the possibility to be genuine and honest at the same time, because you talk about the things that you care about. And it supports your confidence, of course. Some of the tips how to build this kind of story that would work. A personal story. If you have a personal pain with your startup, why you started that in the first place, use it. Use that as an example and show it through the problem solution and convincing the audience that there are hundreds, thousands, millions of other people with the same problem as well that we are targeting. Small or medium or big size companies, exactly with the same problems. And use it through the flow throughout your story. Practice your pitch. A short startup pitch is something you need to practice from beginning to an end. So you would always be able to deliver that. Whether it's just the one sentence, whether it's the 4-minute pitch that many of the startups have at this event as well. And very importantly, when you practice, you will learn to be yourself on the stage. For example, as every team member has a different pitch, it also means that their stage presence is different. You can't expect that a person who does not have long experience on presenting on stages has the same kind of stage presence immediately. You can't expect that everybody have the same body language, but you have to be aware of what you are doing on stage. So you would know how you stand, how you move, and when you happen to see yourself from a photo or video later, you wouldn't be surprised on the things that you did on the stage. So know what you do. And to kind of kill the hope that I will tell you what is the best pitch that you can do that everybody will love it. It does not exist. As many as there are people, there are opinions on startup pitch as well. Often some investors expect that you should speak more about the money, and others say that if you're early stage, you're anyway making that up. So they just want to know how you have defined your target group. So the point is, when you take all the previous advice, you aim to build attention and build interest, and you're genuine and yourself on the stage, you always deliver the pitch, and you're able to do that. What are main mistakes that I've seen throughout the years? Every year I see a few hundred startups to pitch. I advise maybe half of them on a longer format as well. So many of the mistakes that they do is, I told you that every pitch is personal. Never go on a stage with a pitch that your team member wrote for you. It's not yours. It does not work. Your words and your sentences are the ones that work. No practice. If you don't practice, you will lose a lot of things. You lose the confidence. You will lose the opportunity to really emphasize important elements. Never lie. Even if you have a question that you don't know, don't make it up. Always have a proof about the information that you are giving out on a stage. Don't use difficult terms. If you're building a complicated product and you're a tech guy yourself, make sure that everybody understands what is the thing that you're building. You can be sure that if there are experts in this field in the audience, they will come to you later and ask for further information to know the details and the terms. But if you're using difficult terms, you might lose 90% of the audience because they're not able to follow you anymore. And also the overage investor is dumb because they know so many different industries, but they know just top of it. And with just few industries, they're able to go deeper. But you have to convince them up here. And long sentences. It's hard for the audience to follow your long sentences, and even worse, it's hard for you to remember where did you start from to understand where do you need to finish. Losing confidence on stage. Words like, we might have our product out in December. Investor already writing down, this team is not confident. Or saying that our customers are everybody. Okay, half of the audience are thinking about dog owners, and the rest of the audience is thinking about small companies. It's never everybody. Make sure it's precise. Losing the eye contact with the audience. So that's the point. Speaking with your feet or speaking with the screen, right? Yeah, what a nice screen is it in here. Your own body language. So this was the thing that I said before. Be aware of what you're doing on stage. How you're moving your hands, whether your hands are in your pockets, whether they are behind you, whether you walk around, whether you're swinging or not. Many, many different elements. Ask a team member to make a video of you when you are practicing your pitch, and then you will be aware of that. Another thing, passion. So you care about your product. Show that to the audience. Make investors believe that I am the next great startup founder from Romania, from Bulgaria, from Europe. Doesn't matter where I come from. I'm still the best one with my team. Missing whys and hows. If you claim to have something, you have to also explain how do you have it. Or convince why there's a problem in the first place, for example. If you say that your product is more beautiful than others, like, being beautiful is an empty word. Explain how it is. Is it user interface? Is it some specific elements that you have approached? How do you make it more beautiful, really? What's actually behind that, and why this being beautiful is more relevant than, for example, competition that is cheaper? And having no difference with others. If you are targeting the same target group with solving the same problem with the same kind of solution, and there's no other differences, then what is the difference, And I can give you a hint. Being cheaper is not the difference. Whenever you're talking, be genuine on whatever you're saying. And honest, like I already said before. Because this is what is needed to deliver in the first place. Do not apologize. What does that mean is that when your slides are gone from the screen, when you mess up your sentences, when you have slept only 3 hours this night, and the previous 30 nights as well, it does not matter. In a startup pitch, it's about making the audience interested and get their attention, so they would give you their business cards and ask further questions. Do not spend time on irrelevant things, like apologizing for some stuff. You will lose your confidence and kill it. And they lose attention from the audience. Thank you.